Everybody, Jason here. So I had this idea for a little short series of videos to do for the end of the year, which was my top 10 favorite physical copy acquisitions or of the year. My top 10 favorite things that I got, in physical format, non-digital. And it was a hard decision because I bought a lot of stuff this year, and honestly, a lot of it, most of it, I haven't read 100% yet. I've only read part of it. I've got a little bit of ADD when it comes to finishing books, whether it be novels or game books or whatever. But and plus very little time to read. I have a 3-year-old, and my wife and I are busy doing things with her and things like that, and just life in general. Work schedules are crazy and things like that. So I work 10-hour days during the week, and then the weekends are filled with activities with the kid and everything. So finishing reading RPG books for me is really hard because I also have comics I collect. So reading comics, reading role playing game books, reading or playing video games. My nerd life has taken a backseat in the past couple years, so getting things read is not as easy as it used to be. But so the list that I'm making here, the top 10 things, very few of these things, if any of them, are 100% read all the way through. So it's just a little heads up that I haven't read everything all the way through on most things. But in this order, up until we get like the top 2 or 3, top 3, I think actually, the first like 6 or 7 things are not really in any particular order. They just weren't in my top 3, so I kind of just wherever they landed on the list is where they landed. It wasn't really a thing like that. But number 10 on the list here, I've got this right here, Menzo Berensson City of Intrigue. This is a 4th edition, as you can see, 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons book. Although, technically, this book is system neutral, whether it be D&D or any other system. This is literally just a book of fluff and ideas on how to run campaigns set in the Underdark, like as a house campaign for the Underdark, for like the Drow. There are no mechanics in this book at all, which I think is fantastic. So you can run it with any version of either D&D or any other system of role-playing game. You can run it with D6. You can run it with what's new is old. You could run it under Fantasy Flight Genesis. You could run it under OSR, White Box, or you could run it under Tiny D6, which isn't a bad idea now that I think about it. You make up your own system for it. It doesn't matter. 5th edition D&D, it's system neutral, which is fantastic. And it's basically just how to run Drow campaign with Drow houses and stuff. It gives things like information on the Drow houses, like throughout all the different eras that Menzo Berensson has existed in the Forgotten Realms, whether it's back when when it first came out, or when the houses first were formed, or throughout the Spell Plague era, Time of Troubles, modern day 5th edition D&D, things like that. But it gives ideas on what types of campaigns you could run, how to run them, ideas for adventures, encounters, all kinds of notable NPCs, things like that. So it's very interesting. Like, here's an example, House Obladra, which I think House Obladra may be destroyed in current times. I don't think they're around in the current 5th edition era timeline. I could be wrong, but it's got it tells you the traits of the house. Like it says, they're authoritarian and secretive. They have a power ranking of 12 with 3 swords, 4 spiders, and 5 diamonds, which those things all equal up to like military might, spell might, and monetary access to monetary resources and things like that. Membership, they have 32 house nobles, which is 6 high priestesses, 16 priestesses, 4 warriors, 6 wizards, 450 soldiers, 600 slaves. Tells where the headquarters is and their religious affiliation, which is the Church of Lolth, and it's weak. And it gives a history of each of these houses and clans, and pictures of the nobles of their clans and house, things like that. This is a fantastic book. I kind of originally wanted to get this and run it with the Game of Thrones rule set published by Green Ronin. I don't know that that's going to happen, because that seems like a very complicated system. Not complicated, just more complicated than I have time to learn right now, put it that way. But everybody knows, 5th edition. All my friends know 5th edition. I could run it under TinyD6, which is a great idea, because it doesn't have to be super rules heavy. Prince Valiant might be another good system to run this with. Even the dice system from Tales of Equestria, which is really great, could be a good thing if you want something super rules light. But again, that was number 10 on my list. Number 9 here. This book I have read all the way through a couple of times, and it's a great read. Tiny Gods by Alan Barr from the TinyD6 system from Gallant Knight Games. There's a number of tiny systems like Tiny Gunslingers, Tiny Fantasy, or Tiny Dungeon, Tiny Gods. This I was looking for something a while back that reminded me of the old Super Nintendo game ActRaiser, where you played a god and then you had your avatar and you would side scroll through action scenes with the avatar, and then as the god you would go and create your world. You'd help your communities and your people grow crops, and natural disasters would happen, and you'd help build the community up, and you'd get followers and people would worship you, things like that. And I stumbled across this in my searching for an ActRaiser type game, where in this you play a demigod. It says you take on the role of divine beings in this tiny D6 supplemental book. I know it says supplemental, but it's really a game in itself. You get access to a micro game subsystem about creating settings, as well as a new Tiny D6 archetypes for playing demigods and rules for powerful conviction points. It's a fully playable game from setting creation to inhabiting divine beings, but it benefits from being paired fully with a Tiny D6 game like Tiny Dungeons or something. But this is fantastic. I'm really, really eager to, at some point, my 5th edition D&D campaign that I've been in for the past couple years just ended last session. So the slate is wide open, clean for what we want to do as a group, and I would love to work this in somehow. I think my friends would love this too. Lots of really good art in here. Really, really good art. Let's see if you can see that. Very, very inspiring art, I should say. But it's got all kinds of stuff, whether it's just, how to do your tests, combat, hit points, things like that, hiding and sneaking. But it's also got information on how to create worlds, like creating the world, creating your gods. And when you do these things, you take turns. Each player is considered a god. So you start creating your own world by continent, by continent, by continent, creating new races, creating other demigods, natural disasters, changing the shape of the world and the continents where they're at. Civilizations will rise and fall. All these things happen before you actually get into the game proper to play as a player. And I think, God, this is just such a really good read. There went my bookmark. I've read through this book twice now. It's only 55 pages. It's really short. and I would say probably over half of it is setting information. It's just really, really, really fun and cool. This is a great book. It's available on DriveThru RPG, and I really recommend anybody who's interested in that type of game to check this out. So those are numbers 10 and 9 on the 2019 top 10 RPG list of physical games that I've acquired this year. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment below on what your numbers 10 and 9 are on your top 10 list if you have one, or make a video. Even better, make a video and I'll watch that. Thanks for watching, and I'll get another video up hopefully soon with numbers 8 and 7. So thanks a lot, and we'll see you later.